B, LaGrange District 102 withdrawal from LADSE. Is our plan to vote on this tonight, or is this just to take your recommendation?
I'll give some information. The board can table it if they would like. Every school district in the cooperative will need to vote on this. Basically, the conversation that occurred strongly at the board of directors meeting was keeping it simple on whether or not school districts' costs were going up or down with the exit of District 102. So I had their new CFO pretty much create that one-page summary that is attached here. If there's basically three key areas that the school districts pay for when you belong to LADSE. It's your IDEA flow-through dollars. That's your federal special ed money and reimbursement money. So that would not be impacted by whether or not 102 leaves or stays. Then there's your purchase services. Again, it is just exactly what it sounds like, purchase service. That's not impacted by whether or not District 102 leaves or stays. The third bucket or category that each district pays into is your assessment fee. And that's the administrative cost and general cost of running the cooperative and staffing the cooperative that are passed, are shared across the cooperative by all districts. So if District 1 or 2 were to stay, we have several retirements that are coming up this year in LADSE. Our overall assessment fee would decrease by roughly $20,000. If District 102 leaves, our assessment fee only goes down $2,000. So basically, it's a difference of $20,000 if 102 stays or leaves, and it's impact directly to District 208. So, just so you understand the process, if the board feels out of principle that they can't support it because it's going to increase our cost, that's understandable. It does not mean that District 102 still cannot leave. If one of the school districts in the cooperative votes no, the next step is then they have to go through the Regional Office of Education. Now, I've only been a superintendent for 6 years. I've had some colleagues that have been superintendents for longer, but there's really no one had any experience where a regional office supported the cooperative. Most of the time, if people want to leave their cooperative, eventually there's enough steps for them to go through to get out of the cooperative, even if the people in the cooperative vote against it. When Hinsdale, District 86, the high school district left LADSE, then Franzik, who is the attorney for LADSE, then has to negotiate a withdrawal agreement and how costs are going to be shared and money is going to be covered, even after they exit, because there still may be some lingering costs from their exit that they need to be responsible for. And that has happened in the past. So we can table this until November, or if the board wants to take a vote and they feel that because of the impact on us they don't want to support it, it is our option.
I think we should vote.
Well, I raised a question, and the question I raised was the fact that all the districts now, the LADSE is probably only worrying about their current personnel cost. If pension costs were to be shifted down locally, and there was a pension liability at the time they exit, and there's a shrunk group of people funding LADSE, we are taking on additional cost of that pension liability that was created in the past. And what I want to make sure happens is that these exit agreements specifically call out the fact, and I hope when Hinsdale got exited out also, is that there was a determination of pension cost at that time, and that they recognize that if pension costs are going to be pushed back to the LADSE, that they are going to wind up having to fund some of that. What I don't want happening now is this shrinking number of participants in LADSE is going to take and pay for costs in the past.
So we could vote on this tonight and then ask for that to be considered as part of the
Well, I'd like
Exit
to
agreement?
understand their exit agreements, and if specifically anyone exiting is liable for pension costs that were incurred at the time.
I
that they
believe
were
the
involved.
board has to vote on,
But
this school board will have to vote on
I know, the exit, but I
Exit
would like,
agreement
as
as
you're the rep, you're a
Correct.
rep, right, for that, to make sure that that gets filtered into any exit agreements going.
I have board member question concerned about pension liability
Alright.
needs to be proportionately covered by District 102 in the exit agreement.
So you want to vote on,
Yeah, we can vote on this.
okay.
But should we wait until that's
I
in
don't-
the agreement?
We can't control LADSE and their exit agreement, right?
Right, and the other thing is
So,
the
I mean,
exit
we can't
agreement,
control
by
that,
us voting,
unfortunately.
if you vote yes or no not to support their leaving, you're technically believing there shouldn't be an exit agreement. So it's a ripple effect. Does that make sense, Laura? The vote first has to be taken by all the school districts. And then if they don't, if the cooperative votes no, then they gotta go through a whole nother process with the regional offices. If the regional offices allows them to leave, then we can negotiate the
But
exit
that's
agreement.
it's probably a bigger question, and it's probably should have been addressed at the sign-up, when people became members
In the
into
bylaws.
LADSE, that what they're responsible for costs, including any potential ongoing pension liabilities that may come across in the future, and probably had been addressed.
So where, can I make a motion then on it?
There's a couple things I need, we can make the motion, but I want to ask a couple
And
questions.
then the motions in the positive said that it would be a yes vote if we allow them to leave and a no vote if we don't want to allow them to leave.
Okay.
So let's read that and then we'll.
Whereas Riverside Brookfield Township High School District 208 is a member of the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education, LADSE, and whereas LaGrange School District 102 is also a member of LADSE and has issued a petition for withdrawal from LADSE, seeking to withdraw effective July 1st, 2017, pursuant to School Code Section 10-22.31, 105 ILCS 5/10-22.31, and that the regulation at 23 Illinois Administrative Code, Section 226.780, and whereas the Board of Education has considered the petition of LaGrange School District 102 for withdrawal from LADSE, now therefore be it, and it is hereby resolved by the Board of Education of Riverside Brookfield Township High School, District 208 as follows.
And that's where you should pause and let the questions come in.
Okay?
As number one says if it approves or disapproves, so I think we maybe want to hear the discussion, correct?
Well, you put it into the affirmative, and then they can, if they're against it, they would vote no.
Okay, just make sure the board
Yeah.
Yeah,
understands.
before we vote.
Yeah, he said, the Board of Education hereby does approve the petition of LaGrange School District 102 for withdrawal from the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education, and does agree to withdraw, to the withdrawal of LaGrange School District 102 effective July 1st, 2017. This resolution shall be in effect forthwith upon its adoption.
Okay, that's the resolution, and a yes vote would say you agree to allow them to leave, and a no vote is you don't agree to allow them to leave. Tim?
We need a second.
There's a couple things that I was unclear. Gary
Do we
asked
have a
some good-
second? You want to second it?
No, I don't want a second. I'll second it. I'll second it. Doesn't matter. I'll second it.
Okay, so then Tim, you had a couple items.
Yes, Gary's point on, I misunderstood, I don't quite understand what you're saying, Kevin. So Gary's saying we might be willing to let them withdraw if we know they're going to be liable for their share of the pension for while they were in. But with it's, well, we want to, on an ongoing forward basis, know people withdraw are going to take responsibility for the pension, right?
Correct.
Do we know if they withdraw whether they'll have any responsibility based on the?
I don't want to speak, I don't have the exact, and so if we want to table it, but I do know that we, Hinsdale Central has been, or Hinsdale District 86 has been out for 2 years, and I believe we have still received some payments for them for their cost.
Okay.
I mean, now, I don't know if that's strictly related to the pension liability or some things that have to be paid in arrears for people they previously employed.
So, I mean, the one thing is.
But it's not like you just get to leave and then your costs are gone. I mean, there is some fees that they have to pay in order to exit, pay even after they're withdrawn.
The second thing is LADSE falling apart or something? I mean, do we have to worry about more people this is 2 in 2 years. If people continue to drop out, we're going to continue to have to pay a higher percentage of administrative fees for this.
So, it's 3 over 6 years.
Okay.
We haven't, I think the last one was District 86 2 or 3 years ago. And before that, it was District 181, the Hinsdale Elementary District. We've asked the same question as Board of Directors. We're being told that if some of those districts had to reconsider, they would consider joining back up because they're not saving the amount of money they thought they would be saving. See, for the high schools is where it is the toughest, is because there are some limited things that we have. The elementaries really benefit more. The majority of the co-op is, out of the 20 or 24 schools that are at the bottom here, 18 schools, I think it is. Only 2 are high schools, LT and RB. And so we use it for the benefit of, we're able to share some transportation, we get school psychologists at an affordable price, and we get, we have some services. If you have a special needs kid that only needs 2 hours a day of occupational therapy, we don't have to pay, it's hard to find a .2 occupational therapist. So for us, being a smaller high school, there's some benefits. And so what we moved to over the last 2 or 3 years after Hinsdale left was truly a purchase service cooperative, so that you really are only getting billed for the services you're using. To answer your assessment question, that was a big question at the Board of Directors meeting, is what steps is the administration at LADSE going to take in order to kind of restructure accordingly to now be servicing one less school and a certain number of students. I felt they answered some of those questions, and I think they were able to come up with almost 6% of reductions was what we were shared at the Board of Directors meeting. But your question was asked the same way by a couple of school districts. Is this the beginning of dominoes starting, are people losing faith in the cooperative model? And so the director understands that that's a hot topic between the feeders, all the schools that are part of the cooperative. And we're working with the director to make sure there's some strategies to keep the cooperative together.
So if 3 dropped out, counting them in 6 years, there's 13 listed here besides 102. So they went from 16 to 13. Have they showed that they reduced the administrative cost in the last 6 years when 2 other dropped out?
We have started to scale back. We put out some contracts for rebidding.
Okay.
So we've done some restructuring.
So I guess the only question I would ask is what your suggestion is. If we vote no, they have to go through a lot of effort or some effort to go out. Should we make it more difficult for people to drop out or just cooperate with them?
I
'Cause
think that's
they're-
why a lot of the districts are pushing this off till the last minute to kind of see, because if one votes no, they kind of off the hook, to be honest with you. And I kept it simple. I said, listen, my board's fiscally responsible. They're going to want to see the financial impact of District 102 leaving and what changes can be made. And so basically, what you have in front of you from the CFO is like, with all cuts and restructuring taking place, we'd still suffer about a $20,000 impact from them leaving.
And the last
Okay,
question
Matt?
is, if it happened before, are we a party when they go in front of the state board, to the regional board, to go through the process of being removed from LADSE?
I didn't, from my understanding, it's just an appeal process. They have to state their cause and
Okay.
their claims. I don't think it's, like, there's any full testimony from other cooperative members or anything like that.
And on the last one, for sure, we voted not to
That's right.
approve the withdrawal.
Right. So do we want to be consistent and make it difficult for them to drop out?
I would think so.
Yeah. I think we did in the last 2, right, Mike?
I don't recall the one before.
I thought we
I
said
definitely
voted
recall the
no.
last one.
Yeah.
Unless you were on the board when that might have happened.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
What's your do you have a recommendation, Kevin?
The recommendation is above the
I'm sorry.
resolution. I think the board needs to consider, like what we said, if you're gonna join a cooperative, there needs to be some ramifications so that you try to work through everything possible. I know District 102 is going for a referendum.
I see it.
They are going through some financial issues. However,
Thanks, man.
everybody's budgets are tight at this time, so it's really a matter of whether or not the board, I think you said it pretty well, Mr. Walsh, and we want to be consistent and we want to make it tough for people to leave the cooperative or make sure they cover their share.
Which, what Mr. Gritchen's talking about comes with the exit agreement.
Correct.
Okay. I say we go for the vote.
Ms. Ruska?
No.
Dr. King?
No.
Mr. Cindy?
No.
Mr. Walsh?
No.
Mr. Gritchen?
No.
Mr. Welch?
No.